Hello, it's the Gnome here, and welcome to part 3 of Winter Carp. November is, amongst the carping community, the start of winter carp fishing proper. So it's probably good to ask at this point, what are our chances of actually catching anything? Well, way back in Dick Walker's day, of course, he seemed to intimate that it may be possible to catch winter carp, but your chances were incredibly slim. Since then, we've come to realise that some of the larger carp of the year are likely to come in winter, and they will have their lovely winter colours if you're fortunate enough to catch them. And Kevin Maddox once said that when he looked out over a bleak, windy, cold winter carp lake and started to perhaps despair, he consoled himself with the idea that somewhere, at some spot, a carp was probably feeding. They're animals, they have to feed, although I don't think, unlike Maddox, that carp feed every day in the winter. Why do I say this? Well, I once saw carp in a industrial canal. It was crystal clear, and they were lying all over the bottom like fallen sunken leaves, unmoving or stirring very slightly, and they remained there like that for about 3 days. So carp don't go to the bottom and bury themselves in mud, I don't think, which was a belief that Otto Overbeck had at the start of the last century. But they will lie on the bottom, semi-comatose or comatose, and that of course means catching them can be very, very difficult indeed. It helps if you find places where they are known to feed. I tried this yesterday at a pool I'll call Hoveland. It's a small Herefordshire farm pond. I had the pool to myself. It was the grass was very sodden, very muddy. The pool was up because of the rains and clouded. I tried several spots where I know that carp are likely to feed, known feeding spots, and although I had a few moments of interest, which was basically a few dips on the float here and there, I blanked. It's actually been my 3rd blank in a row, which is a bit galling, but I blanked at Hoveland a few weeks ago. I blanked at Cuckoo Pool, as you know, the last time I fished it, and I blanked yesterday. There are all sorts of ideas about winter carp fishing. The wind was in my face for much of the day, and in the summer that's usually a very good thing because carp, as we know, tend to move with the wind. I just think they drift with the wind actually. I think if they're kind of lying up in the water sometimes, the wind will push them in your direction. I don't think they go there specifically to feed on the wind, but that's the direction they go in. But I tried that and it was freezing. Rod Hutchinson once said that carp like the sheltered spots in the winter more, that you should not fish into the wind but on the back of the wind, in a sheltered area, and that's probably true. Hoveland perhaps isn't the best carp pool for winter fishing. I've done well there this year. I've had 3 20s from there, all commons. One of them was a repeat capture, and I've had a good many carp between 15 and 18 from there as well, all on the float, on specially treated luncheon meat, which is I shape the luncheon meat into a ball. I dip it in olive and garlic oil and I roll it then in exploding ground bait, and it puts a nice little attractive ring around your bait and so on, and a few free offerings, and that's worked well. Didn't work yesterday, didn't work the last time I fished at Hoveland. It's too shallow. The deepest point is probably about 5 foot. Another carp haul I fished was a good winter water. I remember I sat out on an island in the middle of very, very heavy November rain for about 8 hours, and I was sight bobbing in about 9-10 foot of water. In retrospect, I probably wouldn't have sight bobbed because obviously stability problems, but there was no wind as such, just the rain. And as the light faded, the bob just went under very, very slowly. I struck and I missed. Next time it happened, I waited a bit longer. It went down about an inch under the surface, paused, then slid away, and a beautiful 9-pound common was the result. Cracking fish. And about an hour later, almost in total darkness, it happened again. Another fish, about the same size. So I think depth is important. I don't think carp always feed in the depths in the winter, but I do think that if they have depths, they can make their own lives more comfortable. As I say, they are creatures, they do need to feed, and they look after their own comfort much as we do. So that's really what I have to say about carp fishing at this stage. I hope you do better than me if you get out carp fishing this year.